CNBC TV 18 and Lufthansa's All for This One Moment. I'm Shereen Bhan. Over the next 30 minutes, you get to meet one of corporate India's best business leaders. You get to understand them. You get to see what drives them, what motivates them, what inspires them. And possibly for the very first time, you get to see a side of them that hasn't been seen in public before. Before I bring out my guest this evening, here's a quick glimpse into his life. Adi Godrej, chairman of the Godrej Group, believes this brand name has been built on a spirit of innovation. After taking over the reins of the business, this MIT graduate devoted his energies to putting new processes and systems in place and even embarked on a long and rigorous restructuring exercise. With an eye on competition, Godrej has steered this century-old corporate behemoth towards a transnational future. By partnering with world-class corporations, the Godrej Group has remained in the vanguard of management practices. But his motto, "Sales is vanity, profit is sanity and cash is reality," remains unchanged. Okay, let me start by asking you, you inherited an over 100-year legacy. The company is 110, I believe, now. It's seen many, many changes. India has seen many changes. Indian consumers have seen many changes, and their aspirations have seen many changes. What's the biggest change Adi Godrej has seen?
Oh, tremendous change. Because when I first joined the business, India was in a socialist mood. So one of my favorites, I say, if you're not a socialist when you're 20, you don't have a heart. If you're a socialist when you're 40, you don't have a head. But so the change in 1991, when the country decided to globalize, liberalize, was tremendous. And I don't think anybody expected that India would do as well as it did when it changed its economic policies. So that's the biggest change I've seen in my career. Well, hopefully that's the purpose of the exercise. And so first time I got to know anonymous, clear interpretation of, no, I think I realized some of these deficiencies in myself, but probably not as well as when it was put together anonymously by a large number of my subordinates. So then I've consciously tried to change myself. I've consciously realized also that a participative style would be much better. I hear now I get better appraisals.
What was the appraisal? What was the recent appraisal that you actually got?
Recent appraisal was still better, but these are still continue to be my deficiencies relative to other factors.
And what is the biggest deficiency at this point, you think? Which are the ones that you've ironed out and sorted out?
I think supporting teamwork. I tend to take quick decisions by myself, which I'm trying to overcome, but not everything can be overcome very easily.
Before we actually move on, here's somebody who's seen you evolve as a business leader, and he's essentially talking about possibly one of the biggest challenges of managing a family-run business professionally. Here's the Chief Mentor of the Confederation of Indian Industry, Tarun Das.
In the family, there are brothers and cousins. There are now children, nephews, nieces. So there are two generations of Godrejes involved in that business. So Adi has to manage this heterogeneous group of Godrejes with care, with sensitivity, and with imagination.
There are great advantages to family businesses. First of all, I always believe that it's the best employee share option scheme in the world, family business. Secondly, you have continuity, much better continuity of management. But there are challenges. Clearly, you've got to make sure that people put the business before the family. You must make sure that people don't step on each other's toes. People are assigned tasks which suit them the best. That people start at the bottom. And one mistake I've made in family business, especially with my children, is that I felt at that time when they were first joining business that it might be best if they start in business in our company, because that way they'll get a very quick exposure. Now I believe that it might be much better if they had worked in some other business for maybe 3 or 4 years before they joined our business.
And I was reading somebody who's been looking at the way that the group is functioning for a very, very long time. And they said Adi Godrej is astute in understanding shareholder values and financial implications, while the younger generation is passionate about brands. This balanced focus between shareholder returns and passion to build brands is an asset. You finally got the balance right, you think?
Yes, I think so. I'm very logic-oriented, I'm very finance-oriented, I'm not very marketing-oriented. So I think that's true. And and the younger generation is very much so. Also, when I joined the business, times were different. We could sell anything we made. So marketing and brand didn't make that much of a difference in those days. Now it's completely different.
More on that in just a bit, but I'm going to bring up somebody who's known you personally as well and observed your career. Here's the chairman of Bajaj Auto, Rahul Bajaj, talking about Adi Godrej.
Basically, he is a person who is straightforward in his dealings and he gets along with people. So when you make joint ventures, when you make deals, now the joint ventures in this case, I think in India, not many joint ventures have succeeded. There are other reasons for that. So maybe some of his joint ventures also did not succeed like GE and others. But that is not because of any feeling on his part. It's because the basic concept of joint venture between an Indian company and a counterpart had many handicaps.
We've heard of the Indian handicap there that Mr. Bajaj was really talking about. But as you've over the years introspected, what do you think really went wrong?
No, we've had several joint ventures. One, I believe that joint ventures between Indian companies and international companies will not generally last for a very long time. There are reasons why you get into a joint venture. Each party needs something the other is able to provide. Once that's done, there's no need to continue joint ventures. So both our joint ventures with GE and P&G were very amicably changed. I think that getting into the joint venture helped both the companies. Getting out of it also helped both the companies. We have a joint venture, for example, with the Sara Lee Corporation for the last 14 years, doing exceedingly well. We have other joint ventures. The Pillsbury joint venture we changed because the business it was in, which was package branded atta mainly, was not just taking off in India, and I'm glad we decided to get out.
Okay, let's go back now and listen in to Mr. Tarandas.
I think one has to give Adi credit as the chairman of the Godrej Group for exiting businesses. You know, it is not something which is easy to do. We're doing something for many years, for many decades. It's part of the family business, it's part of the group. You want to carry on. But when he and the family saw that, for example, their traditional business of machine tool manufacture was not going to make out in the world, because of the change in the world and because of consolidation of businesses in machine tools, the Godrej Group exited machine tools, even though it was a very core industry for Godrej Group.
An important point that he's made, because you've been part of a 10-year rigorous restructuring exercise, keeping the new realities in mind. Did you get emotional while you were making some tough decisions?
In some cases a little bit, but one realizes that one must look at rationally at it. And any business, even parts of businesses, must learn to add new businesses, add new products, and exit some old businesses. That's part of running a good business. And we've done it reasonably well, but I think we have exited less businesses than we should have. And we've already exited a couple of businesses this year. You'll see us exit one or two non-core businesses in the future.
I know you have 4 hero businesses that you've sort of charted out as your core focus areas. But which are the businesses or the areas that you'd like to exit from now?
Oh, that I don't think I can talk here, Shereen, because we have employees in those businesses, we have people, we have customers, but very clearly we are looking at exiting a couple of businesses.
But what would you regard as the biggest drawback is, the period of liberalization, competition, outside of the marketing and the branding efforts? What do you think was the drawback at that point, which held the business down, which weighed the business down?
Well, one of the things were, for decades we were a private company.
Yeah.
We only went public, and even now most of our businesses are private. So we clearly have had financial...
Is there a conscious or deliberate thinking within the company now to take a lot more of the businesses public?
Not a lot more.
Okay.
The only business we are now looking to, in the near future, I expect, will be Godrej Properties. Okay. And that too, with the current situation,
in a market like this, I was going to ask you that, in a market like this, are you seriously considering that?
We'll have to wait until the market turns around. Not too many businesses, but clearly we were a little restricted by financial capability because we were private.
A surprise guest, somebody who's seen Adi Godrej evolve as a business leader, he'll join us.
Our viewers' contest question of the week is: which organization did the Godrej Group have a joint venture with? A. General Motors, B. General Electric, C. Hindustan Lever. SMS LH moment space followed by option A, B or C to 52622 and win fabulous gift hampers from Lufthansa.